feuded with Flair over the right to the Nature Boy name. Rogers put Flair over, submitted to the figure four, and effectively handed the keys to the next generation.
Love when people just like don't take it, as an insult, but as flattery. He didn't take it as an insult like all the old people always do. They take it in stride and put talent over.
Oh, what's up? Oh, what's up?
Yo, what up? It's Majay back here with another video. Today we're about to be reacting to a video by Wrestling Mafia, and the video is going to be on WWE wrestlers who stole gimmicks. Off the top, it's gonna have to be fucking Cody Rhodes to Goldust because they essentially wanted him to be like his brother and have that whole fucking gimmick, bro. I think if he didn't leave WWE, he wouldn't be what he is right now, bro. He needed to leave WWE because Stardust, and then Goldust will always have his gimmick and it always be the best. But the Stardust, he was okay, but he just wasn't Goldust.
A gimmick can either...
Oh shit. Let's get into it. Before we get into it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and click the hype button.
Make or break a wrestler's career. In this video, we're looking at the WWE wrestlers who copied, took inspiration from, and in some cases, outright stole the gimmicks of other wrestlers. Starting with the biggest wrestling name of the 80s, Hulk Hogan. Before Hulkamania ran wild, before the red and yellow, before the leg drop, there was a bleach blonde, muscle-bound loudmouth named Superstar Billy Graham. Graham debuted in 1970, had the physique of a bodybuilder, platinum blonde hair, gear that looked like it was borrowed from a rock concert, and a mouth that never stopped moving. Graham cut promos dripping with arrogance and charisma, flexing his biceps like they were the eighth wonder of the world. In 1977, he beat Bruno Sammartino for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Championship and became one of the hottest heels in the business. He was a superstar in every sense of the word, and then a young Terry Bollea started showing up to his matches. Hogan has admitted it himself. Speaking to TMZ after Graham's death in 2023, Hogan said that he wanted to be just like him. By his own admission, from the moment Terry saw Graham perform, he molded his whole career around the superstar and added bits of Dusty Rhodes and Jesse Ventura. The similarities were impossible to ignore. The physique, the hair, the posing. Hogan absorbed the entire blueprint. The key difference was that Graham's career never fully recovered after losing the title to Bob Backlund in 1978. Injuries piled up, returns fizzled out, and the window closed. When Vince McMahon brought Hogan to the WWF...
Honestly, that was just that was just like once upon a time luck right there of him just like stealing a gimmick and Superstar Billy Graham's like career not working out for him. And all he had to do was just like literally just, swipe in and just steal the gimmick. Although he stole the gimmick, but he made the shit work. I mean, I think that's gonna be, a lot on this list. People that like stole a gimmick, but like they ended up making it work better than the original. Like Billy Graham is always gonna be a legendary ass wrestler for everybody, but like it's like, goddamn, I'm sorry, Hulk Hogan actually kind of made that shit work.
1983, he took everything Graham had built and turned it into the greatest commercial wrestling machine the wrestling world had ever seen. 6 WWE titles, multiple WrestleMania main events, TV shows, and movies. Hulkamania became a phenomenon. Graham laid the foundation, Hogan became the product. But the Hulkster wasn't the only one doing the borrowing, because while Hulkamania was run...
But along with that whole thing, he could have at least gave Billy Graham a whole ton of more credit than that. I know there's like a lot of credit you can give a person, but like he could still give more credit than that.
Running wild in the WWE, the man who owned the WWE was watching his competition very carefully and taking notes. In 1996, Eric Bischoff became the executive vice president of WCW and immediately began making Vince McMahon's life miserable. Bischoff wasn't just a backstage figure. He put himself on television, joined the NWO, and became one of the most despised heel authority figures wrestling had ever seen. He strutted around ringside, abused his power, and hid behind Hogan and the NWO whenever things got physical. The cowardly, corrupt boss character was his. And for over a year, WCW was beating WWE in the ratings every single week. But then, the Montreal Screwjob happened. In November 1997, Vince McMahon screwed Bret Hart in front of everyone, and the heat was nuclear. McMahon leaned in, stepped out from behind the announcer's desk, and became Mr. McMahon, the tyrannical billionaire boss who used his power to torment Stone Cold Steve Austin and anyone else who dared stand up to him. Bischoff himself has never been shy about pointing this out. He's gone on record saying McMahon became the evil boss character a full year after he did it first, and that DX was nothing more than WWE's version of the NWO. But here's...
I mean, honestly, you can say that, but It's competition, bro. It's competition. It's how shit worked out. WWE ended up, being the better company in the long run, and having everything way better than them in the long run. But honestly, he did have the boss character. I mean, if they say he did, because I noticed, like, I watched a whole bunch of clips of back in like the WCW versus Raw days or whatever, and like they did have like that whole thing of Eric Bischoff being like the heel character. Like he was getting shit thrown on him. Like it was just a whole bunch of bullshit going on behind. But like for Vince McMahon to steal it and make that 100 times more work, because like, bro, as a character, I fucking hate Vince McMahon. I still don't like him, for like the real life shit. But he literally made this company what it is.
Where the stories diverge, Bischoff's character worked because he had the NWO doing his dirty work. Take them away, and he was just a guy in a suit. McMahon's character worked because it was soaked in reality. Fans knew Vince actually owned the company. The power was real. And his feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin became the greatest storyline in wrestling history, drawing the biggest ratings WWE has ever seen.
That's true.
Bischoff went on to become Raw's general manager during the brand split era, playing the exact same character in McMahon's house. McMahon loved that irony. The man who arguably inspired the Mr. McMahon character ended up working for him. The student doesn't always surpass the teacher, but sometimes the teacher steals your exam paper and gets a better grade. However, it's not always WWE taking inspiration from the competition. TNA spent years trying to build their own version of Kane. Kane debuted in 1997 as The Undertaker's monstrous younger brother, a 7-foot silent machine in a bodysuit who couldn't feel pain and ripped cell doors off. He was managed by Paul Bearer, who held secrets about both Taker and Kane's dark past over their head. The character was layered, terrifying, and unlike anything WWE had produced before. When Dutch Mantell was working in Puerto Rico in the early 2000s, he created a character for a young Christopher Park that was directly inspired by Kane and Mankind. That character eventually made its way to TNA, and Abyss was born. The parallels were unavoidable. Both were enormous masked men booked as unstoppable monsters. Both were managed by father figures who exploited their pain, Paul Bearer for Kane, Father James Mitchell for Abyss. TNA even tried to replicate the Undertaker-Kane brother storyline by introducing Judas Messias as Abyss's kayfabe half-brother and son of Mitchell. However, it fell flat. Messias wasn't physically imposing enough to feel like a credible threat, and TNA's creative couldn't replicate the layers that made the original work. What Abyss did bring to the table that was genuinely his own was a hardcore edge closer to Mankind than Kane. He bled, dove into thumbtacks, wrapped himself in barbed wire, and survived things that would have ended lesser men. TNA leaned.
And he ended up going against some the legend fucking Mick Foley, bro. Whether you like it or not, but like honestly, you can say this is a ripoff, but like Abyss was actually a fucking talented ass fucking person, and looking now, he works for WWE too. Like the whole thing, you can say it's always copied. I get it, but like I feel like Abyss, brought a like a little different edge to it. It's an inspiration for the gimmick, but like when they heavily stop, copying Kane, it became a way better gimmick. That's what I feel like. Like I got into like TNA in like the early 2010s, but like I can say like Abyss was like actually a good character off alone.
Into that and gave him Monsters Ball matches that were brutal. Mick Foley eventually showed up in TNA, acknowledged the comparisons, and even feuded with Abyss. Abyss became a TNA Hall of Famer and spent over a decade as one of the company's cornerstones. He reportedly turned down a WWE offer to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania to stay loyal to TNA, a loyalty that, depending on who you ask, either speaks to his character or cost him a much bigger career. He later signed with WWE not as a wrestler, but as a backstage producer. However, Abyss wasn't the only wrestler in TNA with an uncanny resemblance to someone from another promotion. When Samoa Joe arrived in TNA, everyone immediately noticed the similarities to Taz. The towel, the in-ring style that combined suplexes and submission holds, both being nicknamed submission machines. The aesthetic and the aura were strikingly similar. Both radiated a kind of menace that made you believe they could actually hurt someone. The difference was in the details. Taz was the gritty Brooklyn street brawler. Joe was the Samoan powerhouse with a wider offensive arsenal and a unique agility for his size. Joe also had something Taz never fully got, a long run at the top. His 18-month unbeaten streak in TNA and classic matches with AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Kurt Angle are still talked.
Honestly, I think if like TNA existed like back then, if Taz even like took his chance and just went to like another company, I know WCW ended, but like if he just like probably like went to TNA around this time, bro, he would have been fucking good. But like his time was like at a time where, Vince McMahon didn't really believe in a lot of wrestlers. But like I see the similarities. He didn't get the chance that like Samoa Joe got. Samoa Joe got like a whole ass good chance. Samoa Joe was in WWE before, and they didn't like think twice at him. And they didn't even think twice at him later on, even though it was a whole fucking mistake of them firing him twice. They brought this nigga back and fired him twice. Um, but like they didn't get a chance because TNA took a whole ass chance on Samoa Joe and like made him a fucking star he is.
Talked about as some of the best work of that era. Later during his TNA run, Joe was even managed by Taz when he returned with a new look. Taz, to his credit, addressed the similarities directly and with class. He said he was flattered by the comparison, but believed Samoa Joe was a special wrestler, and he would still be successful even if Taz never existed. But while Joe added upon Taz's blueprint, Ryback ended up being a less intimidating version of Goldberg. Bill Goldberg arrived in WCW in 1997 and immediately became one of the most overacts in wrestling. He was massive, jacked, and bald, with a no-nonsense intensity that felt real in an era of cartoonish characters. He simply walked through smoke and sparks and proceeded to destroy everyone in front of him. The unbeaten streak in WCW became legendary. Goldberg became one of the hottest stars in wrestling in 1998, beating Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship. So when Ryan Reeves debuted on Raw in 2012 under the name Ryback with a series of squash matches, the fans immediately made the comparison. Bald, jacked, streak. Crowds started chanting Goldberg within weeks and never really stopped. WWE's own creative staff was reportedly trying to recreate the Goldberg formula, and the packaging made that obvious. The core problem was one of authenticity. Goldberg's streak felt real because WCW built it organically. Ryback's squash victims were jobbers nobody had ever seen before, making the dominant.
No, exactly. That was it too. Like they kind of like solidified that and like had the writing on the wall for that nigga when they swiped out his fucking trunks. His whole wrestling gear for fucking the little tights gimmick. He should have just stayed in that, honestly. But like he had to switch. I don't even know. I don't remember him switching back to that shit. But like they shouldn't have like turned his gimmick to here. He was already getting too compared to Goldberg already.
Feel hollow. And unlike Goldberg, Ryback had history as Skip Sheffield, a cowboy hat-wearing character from NXT that fans hadn't forgotten. There was no convincing air of mystery. Ryback had a decent run as Intercontinental Champion and remained on the roster until 2016, when he departed over pay disputes. Goldberg went on to beat Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series in 2016, proving there was only ever one original. When the copy walked out, the real thing walked back in, and the crowd didn't need a second to know the difference. And while we're talking about men who built a career on copied gimmicks, nobody did it better than the man who stole a nickname, a strut, and an entire persona, and somehow became more famous than the man he took it from. Buddy Rogers was the original Nature Boy. He started wrestling in 1939, long before Ric Flair was even born. And by the time television brought wrestling into American living rooms, Rogers had already built the prototype with the bleach blonde hair, the arrogant promo style, the strut, and the figure 4 leg lock. He was a multi-time world champion and one of the most influential performers of his era. He was the original Nature Boy. Fast forward a few decades, and Ric Flair started out as a completely different kind of wrestler. He was slightly overweight, generic in presentation, and nothing close to the Nature Boy we know today. But then, a 1975 plane crash broke his back in 3 places and forced him to rebuild from scratch. When he came back, Booker George Scott had a suggestion to pattern himself a little after Buddy Rogers, and Flair listened. He bleached his hair, found some robes, developed the strut, adopted the figure 4, and took Rogers' nickname Wholesale. In 1979, Rogers came out of semi-retirement and feuded with Flair over the right to the Nature Boy name. Rogers put Flair over, submitted to the figure 4, and effectively handed the keys to the next generation. After that,
Hey, that's fucking fire. I love when people just like don't take it in like, as an insult, but as flattery. Like especially with the Taz in the whole Samoa Joe thing. He didn't take it as an insult like all the old people always do. They take it in stride and put talent over because they realize that you never know. Like younger talent always ends up surpassing you. And like shit, he fucking did it. Cause he just made it his own also. He just didn't fully copy it. Took the nickname, but like he literally made it his own. He added the woo and he added the little, the strut was kind of little same, but like he added the little like that. but like he tweaked it a bit. I like he changed it up a little bit. He didn't copy the whole thing.
Flair took Rogers' stuff to a whole new level. Rogers was a territorial star. Flair became a global icon. 16 world titles, the Four Horsemen, legendary feuds with Steamboat, Dusty, Sting, and Triple H, and a career that spanned 4 decades. The original Nature Boy was a pioneer. The second Nature Boy became a legend. And somewhere in between those two truths is one of the greatest gimmick thefts. Or tributes, depending on who you ask.
Hey.
The Beautiful People debuted
Beautiful
in
People?
TNA in 2007, and they were exactly what they sound like. A mean girl clique of wrestlers who believed they were the most gorgeous women in the
Oh my gosh, I don't remember this clique, but I remember Velvet Sky around this time. Oh my gosh, she was so fine, nigga. Although I used to watch like WWE more with Lake Cool and everything, but like I singularly remember Velvet Sky.
company and made everyone else's life miserable because of it. Angelina Love and Velvet Sky were the founding members with matching outfits, synchronized entrances, and paper bags placed over opponents' heads. WWE's creative team noticed, and according to a Wrestling Observer report from 2010, they were embarrassed. The feeling internally was that TNA had made their female performers look second-rate in comparison, and they needed their own version of the same act. Enter Laycool. Michelle McCool and Layla.
Oh wow, so they ended up copying them. I thought it would be the other way around. I mean, well, WWE always like copied a lot of fucking like fucking people at that stage. Well, and they also like just really copy people and really didn't admit it. You know, well, who would admit it?
Debuted as a duo in 2009 and started doing essentially everything the Beautiful People were already doing. They called themselves Flawless, humiliated other women on the roster, declared themselves co-women's champions, and coined nicknames like Piggy James for Mickey James. The hairspray, the synergy, the matching gear, it was all there. The Beautiful People weren't shy about calling it out. The original created something special. The copy got a bigger platform and a bigger budget. But while this was one of the most well-known gimmick thefts of the PG era, up next, let's talk about a lesser-known case when a stolen rapper gimmick changed wrestling history forever. In 1991, WCW had a problem. Rap music was exploding in popularity, and WCW wanted a piece of that audience. Their solution was a 400-pound Nebraska native named Paul New, repackaged as the Rap Master, PN News. The character was built around hip-hop aesthetics with neon ring gear, gold chains, and rap promos before matches. The gimmick was fashioned after PM Dawn, but it landed with a thud. News couldn't really rap. He was limited in the ring. He feuded briefly with Steve Austin for the TV title, got moved down the card, botched a finisher that put another wrestler named Dave Sheldon out for nearly a year, and was released by early 1992.
Oh, fuck no.
His WCW career lasted less than a year. A decade later, a young rookie named John Cena was struggling as a generic babyface on SmackDown.
I'm sorry, if you're trying to I mean, I want to see the evidence. I want to see the evidence of them trying to compare this to like John Cena, because at least John Cena, people are a little iffy on John Cena's raps, but John Cena can actually fucking rap and, you know, get the gimmick over. At least they said that guy could not rap. Like, what? Don't compare this to John Cena if you have no facts. I want to see this.
With nothing that made him stand out on the roster. Then, Stephanie McMahon overheard him freestyle rapping on a tour bus and everything changed. Cena debuted a new rapper character in late 2002 with jerseys, baggy shorts, snapback caps, and freestyle rap promos that dissected opponents before the match began. The surface-level template was similar to what PN News had attempted, but the difference was in the execution. PN News was a gimmick in search of a wrestler. Cena was a wrestler who found the same gimmick at the right time. The rapper character became the springboard for a 17-time world champion and one of the biggest mainstream stars wrestling has ever produced. Unfortunately, WWE fumbled Cena's retirement tour with some of the worst booking in recent memory. And if you want to revisit the worst...
I want to revisit that whole thing. But hey, I mean, if you can say it's a little similar, that's it. But like John, he made that whole little gimmick by himself work, bro. Because like we always seen the rapper character right after that, but like I feel like John Cena was the blueprint of like the whole rapper gimmick, because it's like the first time we ever kind of seen that shit in WWE. Well, almost. I mean, I don't remember anything before that. Well, don't forgive me. I'm still getting into like the upper half of before 2000s into wrestling. I'm trying to like look for more stuff to look about. These lists are kind of informing me about it also. But let me know what you guys remember about the gimmick thefts or whatever, or remind me of some in the comments. Because the one that I kind of like really seen was a Nature Boy one. I respected that one. But don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Go look at Wrestling Mafia's original video, and we are on the road to 650. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and click that hype button. Catch you guys in the next video.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?